cleared.
Holy shit. Shit's out everywhere. Whoa. Oh my goodness! Oh, wow!
Oh my god, yes. Oh my god.
Hurricane Erin became the first major hurricane of the season, reaching Category 5 strength as it swept across the Atlantic before striking the USA east coast. With its immense size, the storm devastated fragile shorelines, generating powerful surf, dangerous rip currents, and flooding that left coastal communities heavily damaged. In North Carolina's Outer Banks, the hardest hit area, dunes collapsed and seawater surged across Highway 12, forcing road closures and urgent repairs. Residents and tourists alike were forced to evacuate as violent waves swallowed beaches and buried entire stretches of roadway underwater. In New Jersey, authorities declared a state of an emergency. Massive waves relentlessly battered the coast, flooding many shore towns. Rescue teams were deployed to save residents as seawater rushed into streets and homes. Officials warned that waves exceeding 5 meters could overtop protective dunes, threatening to submerge low-lying neighborhoods. Coastal flooding remained a major concern along the Jersey Shore as Hurricane Erin continued swirling offshore, bringing dangerous surf and rip currents. On Thursday night, emergency vehicles were stationed on flood-prone streets as high tide approached. Videos shared online showed towns already underwater. Earlier, Governor Phil Murphy declared a state of emergency in anticipation of flooding and hazardous surf. In Wildwood, the main Rio Grande Avenue was closed due to deep flooding, according to city police. Photos and videos from residents also showed floodwaters impacting Long Beach Island, Atlantic City, Ocean City, Manasquan, Margate, and several other shore areas. Mandatory evacuations were ordered in Egg Harbor Township in Atlantic County. Guests at motels and residents of low-lying homes were moved to safety as floodwaters rose. Police Chief Frederick Spano confirmed around 8:30 p.m. Hurricane Erin, the first Atlantic hurricane of 2025, had formed on August 11th near the Cabo Verde Islands off the west coast of Africa. Although it did not make direct landfall along the US east coast, Erin still produced powerful waves, dangerous rip currents, and significant flood risks as it tracked northward. The storm's strength fluctuated. By Tuesday, Erin had weakened to Category 2 while moving parallel to the east coast. But by Thursday night, its sustained winds remain near 100 mph, 160 km. The National Hurricane Center in Miami warned Erin could intensify again before weakening on Friday. Even without landfall, dangerous coastal conditions persisted. The storm generated towering waves along the mid-Atlantic coast after lashing the Outer Banks with strong winds and heavy swells, flooding parts of the barrier islands. Forecasts warned that hazardous surf and flooding would continue into the weekend. Farther north, New York and New England closed all beaches to swimmers due to dangerous rip currents. Ferry services to Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard were canceled, while gusts exceeding 40 mph swept across the islands. The Virginia and Chesapeake Bay region also endured tidal flooding as water levels rose beyond normal cycles. Coastal warnings stretched across bays, rivers, and barrier beaches, where overnight waves carved away protective sand dunes. Scientists noted Erin's extraordinary development, calling it one of the largest hurricanes in recent memory, even hundreds of miles offshore. Its circulation generated enormous breakers that slammed beaches from Florida to New England, creating life-threatening conditions far from the storm's core.
We're on LBI, and look at that boat over there. It's almost cresting the ground.
In the Outer Banks, breaches in protective dunes allowed seawater to surge inland. Dare County officials issued evacuation orders, raised double red flags to ban swimming entirely, and prepared re-entry plans once the storm subsided. In Puerto Rico, widespread power outages struck early in the storm. Ferocious winds knocked down power lines, plunging tens of thousands of households into darkness, underscoring the storm's vast reach across the Atlantic basin. In New Jersey, firefighters rescued stranded drivers and even restaurant patrons trapped by rising waters. In towns such as Margate and Ocean City, streets turned into rivers while relentless surf destroyed dunes that had only recently been rebuilt. Across the East Coast, many beaches closed as authorities repeatedly urged the public to stay out of dangerous waters. Life-saving crews were stretched thin responding to numerous rip current rescues. In North Carolina, storm surge up to 4 feet, over 1 meter, inundated neighborhoods already weakened by previous hurricanes. Emergency distribution of bottled water was needed in some towns as water utilities faltered under the strain. As Erin drifted farther out into the Atlantic, its core winds weakened, but its massive arms continued pounding the shoreline. Long-period swells dragged sand offshore, worsening erosion along vulnerable stretches of the coast. The storm's rapid leap from tropical storm to Category 5 in barely a day alarmed forecasters and underscored the rising risks of sudden intensification and fueled by climate change. In the aftermath of the catastrophic floods that hit Ruidoso, New Mexico, just over 2 weeks ago, the community is once again grappling with another devastating flood event. On July 24th, the Rio Ruidoso River surged to nearly 12.5 feet within just 4 hours, overwhelming neighborhoods, submerging roads, and causing extensive damage to homes and infrastructure. As floodwaters rapidly rose, video footage captured a disturbing sight. A cabin being torn from its foundation and swept downstream, a powerful visual representation of the force of the water as it ravaged the village.
Oh my gosh, y'all look.
Oh no. Oh no.
The flood event, which unfolded with little warning, came at a time when recovery efforts from the earlier flood disaster were still ongoing. Emergency crews immediately responded to the crisis, carrying out multiple water rescues and assisting residents who found themselves trapped by the rising waters. Despite the continuing recovery from the earlier disaster, the village was thrust into another crisis, compounding the hardship for an already overwhelmed community. Ruidoso, along with nearby areas, suffered widespread and severe damage. Paradise Canyon, a community located along the Rio Ruidoso, witnessed entire stretches of creek banks collapsing as the water rushed through, carrying with it large debris, mud, and even parts of buildings downstream. In the neighboring community of Ruidoso Downs, as well as the smaller Hollywood area, residents found themselves trapped and isolated as the water cut off access to their homes. First responders were quick to confirm at least 5 swift water rescues within the first few hours of the storm, emphasizing how quickly the floodwaters turned life-threatening for the affected residents. As emergency teams worked tirelessly to save lives, they also faced a critical challenge: significant disruption to the region's power infrastructure. Local utility reports indicated that around 330 homes and businesses were without power, as floodwaters damaged transformers and downed power lines along Davis Drive, Spruce Drive, Yellow Pine Road, and other key streets. While utility workers worked quickly to restore power to many areas, others faced prolonged delays due to blocked roads and unstable ground conditions. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, local authorities opened emergency shelters at the Ruidoso Community Center and Eastern New Mexico University's local campus, providing temporary refuge for displaced residents. By early evening, at least 14 people had sought shelter, and more were expected to arrive as the night fell. Sandbag distribution points were set up at key intersections to allow residents to protect their homes and businesses from further flooding. Heavy machinery was deployed to clear blocked drainage channels and remove large debris from the roadways, aiming to restore critical access routes and reduce the risk of additional flooding from subsequent rainfall. The impact of this flood was particularly painful because of the recent memory of the July 8th flood, which had been unprecedented in scale. On that day, the Rio Ruidoso surged from a calm stream to over 20 feet in less than half an hour, devastating at least 35 homes and claiming 3 lives, including 2 young children. Emergency crews had carried out over 85 water rescues in a frantic and heroic effort to save those trapped by the rapidly rising waters. Much of the debris from that earlier event remained along creek beds and roads, as repair work on damaged infrastructure and homes had only just begun when the new disaster struck. Meteorologists and hydrologists have been clear in explaining why these floods have been so destructive. The North American monsoon typically brings humid air masses from the Pacific and the Gulf, creating thunderstorms across the Southwest. Normally, this seasonal rainfall is beneficial, replenishing rivers and aquifers in the region. However, the situation is exacerbated when the rain falls on terrain scarred by wildfires. Last year, the South Fork Fire burned roughly 1,700 acres near Ruidoso, creating a large burn scar. Experts explained that the heat from the fire altered the properties of the soil, creating a hydrophobic layer that prevents water from being absorbed. Instead of soaking into the ground, the rainwater rushes downhill, filling gullies and streams with dangerous speed, forming debris flows that carry mud, ash, and even whole buildings downstream. Meteorological data confirmed rainfall rates exceeding 2 inches per hour during the July 24th event, which was more than enough to overwhelm any drainage system and trigger flooding. The flooding risk is far from over. The monsoon season typically continues until September, and with already saturated soils and burn scars still exposed, even moderate storms could trigger new flooding. The National Weather Service and local emergency planners have warned the community to remain vigilant, urging residents to monitor weather alerts closely, avoid low water crossings, and heed evacuation orders if issued. Local authorities are taking proactive measures, reinforcing debris catchers, clearing sediment from culverts and drainage channels, and coordinating with state and federal partners to secure additional resources should further flooding occur. Despite the immense challenges, the resilience of Ruidoso's residents and emergency crews has been evident. Volunteer fire departments, neighboring counties, and first responders have worked together to carry out swift rescues, reopen blocked roads, and provide aid to the displaced. Utility workers have worked tirelessly, sometimes overnight, to restore power to affected areas despite unstable ground conditions. Local businesses have donated supplies, and residents have opened their homes to neighbors in need, embodying a spirit of solidarity and community.
Our poor town.
As the floodwaters begin to recede, the true extent of the damage will become clearer. Many residents will face difficult decisions in the coming weeks regarding whether to repair their homes, rebuild, or consider relocation. However, one thing is certain: the strength and determination of the Ruidoso community, as well as the efforts of emergency responders, will continue to guide them through this disaster. While the storms may have tested the limits of what this mountain town can endure, they have also highlighted the resilience of its people and their unwavering resolve to protect their homes and each other. The road to recovery will be long, but the community spirit will undoubtedly prevail.
Nature doesn't send us warnings, but we can. Floods, earthquakes, wildfires, and storms are striking harder and faster than ever before. By subscribing, you are not just watching, you are joining a movement to stay alert, stay informed, and helps others to do the same. Hit the subscribe now, because the next disaster won't wait, and neither should you. Be ready and be aware.